All right. Let me know that you can hear me. If you are here, just drop a comment in the little comment section. And we'll get rolling. I'll explain a little bit how this is going to work moving forward. It's very different than last year. It's very different than perhaps anything that you're used to. I just need to know that the tech is working, and I can see the comments on the YouTube here. And then you can put the thumbs up if you want to let people know we're here. This video is only probably going to be up for 24 hours. There may or may not be availability to replays beyond that. I don't know. I'll explain why I don't know. It's a method to all this. Nicsmas 2021, welcome. Still not 9 o'clock yet. There we go, 9 o'clock. Super stoked you guys are here. This is going to be a little bit different. If you saw Nicsmas 2020, then you might have had expectations about how this one was going. If you paid attention, you see that I did most of Nicsmas 2020 from the studio. I still have the studio. It's right next to me. But I'm sitting in my office right now. And the reason is, and we'll talk about this multiple times over the next 12 days, because as you know, I like to talk in circles and really make sure that things are making sense. And I'll also tell you where that comes from. Let me see if I can get my little video guy on here. There we go. There we go. Can I make it smaller? There. So, Nicsmas 2021. I do not show up my best in a studio with all this lighting, right? The lighting is super intense. We got like 15 different lights with 15 different settings. And I'm more trying to figure out like how to not burn my eyeballs off than showing up and delivering for the people that are here. And it's really, really important to me over the last year or so that I just show up the best I can show up. That is the best thing I can do for you guys. I'm in a lot of crypto groups and I have some companies and all that stuff. And people are always like, well, other companies do it this way, and other companies do it this way, and other crypto groups do it this way. And it would be a disservice for me to show up any way other than where I show up best to you, right? You deserve focus. You deserve intent. Worrying about polish and production, it's just not where I'm best. Why would I ask you to spend an hour with me today or tomorrow or the next day knowing that I'm not going to be at my best? It's a disservice. So that's just me. That's my personality. Who's that good-looking guy? I don't know. Deep fake. There's a lot of people on the internet now that don't believe I'm me, so it's really funny. They watch my videos and still think that I'm not me. Deep fake technology. So Nicsmas 2021. Let me figure out if I can learn how to use slides. AKA DALA. DALA. So for the next 12 days, you can pick which one fits your sensitive sensibilities. You can consider it either directions for acting like an adult or don't act like an asshole. Adopt whichever one resonates with you most. Last year and the year before, I did Nicsmas 2019 and Nicsmas 2020. They were very, very different. Nicsmas 2019, I taught some really tactical, advanced business stuff. Retention referrals, raving fans, diffusion of innovations, all that stuff. And people thought it was mind-blowing. I'm going to tell you why it wasn't mind-blowing, but we'll get into that. And again, Nicsmas 2020, I did most of it sitting at a studio with a professional camera and all this professional lighting, and I was not showing up at my best. I know that. Some of you may or may not know that, depending on your previous exposure. All that stuff. Yeah, but here's the thing about Nicsmas 2020. I talked a lot about figuring out how to build your own business to be what you want it to be. Simultaneously, I asked you to not only build your own business, but watch how I was presenting and think about how you were feeling throughout it. Ooh, I didn't like this. Because if you don't like the way that I do it, then you can come up with a better way to do it for yourself. Also, how do I then apply this to my clients, my employees, my partners, my vendors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Nicsmas 2020 was really like, this is how you make money. This is how you attract the top 1%. This is how you become the top 1% of the top 1%. And this is how you attract the top 1% of the top 1%. And still to this day, I get people this morning that are like, hey, I just listened to day 7 of Nicsmas and now I'm crying. That this has been life-changing and all that stuff. Merry Nicsmas. Thank you. And also to you. So Nicsmas 2020 was great, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work for me, and I was wiped out at the end of it. And the reality is, it could have been better. Gave people a lot of stuff that I think opened up some possibilities for them, but it did not. They were not able to take action on it because they're getting in their own way. So this is just a different kind of Nicsmas, different kind of Nicsmas that we had. The public things, and then we had a VIP tier, right? There's a VIP tier with a special email list and all these modules. You could get all the replays, all this stuff that you would think a good business would do. And all of that stuff knocked me out of my zone. I did not show up the best I could show up because I was trying to make sure that it was recording, right? I was trying to make sure that afterwards the recording got to where it needed to go. All stuff that, of course, we could have gotten an admin or one of our employees to do. But it's a little bit different. So this is how it works. You need to be in the Telegram group if you don't want to miss these. Telegram group, okay? It is very likely that you're going to want to be following on Twitter. Okay, I'll give you the link later. This is not easy to find. For those of you that are here, we got about 50 people concurrent views right now. It is not easy to find. And what I get in my messenger inbox, please do not message me about anything that is related to Nicsmas or any of that right now. If you email me or you go to my inbox and you're like, yeah, but where is it? And then, of course, all the marketers come in, right? The copywriters, the advertisers, you can make a call to action. You should make a nice, clear, clean call to action. You should have a greased slide, right? You should make no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer offer to get in there. And again, going back to what I know about myself and where I want to be, which is always about what you want to be. Merry Nicsmas, so many closed gaps this last year. Business, personal, clients, thanks for the killer life perspective. Curious to see what you're cooking up. Well, I'm going to tell you. Given where I want to be, I appreciate that you want my marketing and everything in here to be a grease slide. Obviously, you probably want replays, emails, make it as easy as possible so you can't miss this. It's got to be a no-brainer. You got to show up on your inbox and boom, don't forget Nicsmas. The problem is you end up with a whole bunch of people. When you have a no-brainer offer, you get a whole bunch of people with no brains. When you make it so easy, the only way they're going to show up is if you make it incredibly easy for them and you put all the responsibility on yourself to show up in their inbox at the right time. You are attracting people that want to abdicate the responsibility of their own life to you. Me personally, I don't want those things. If you cannot figure out how to get here, put it in your calendar and show up on time, and you think it's my responsibility to tell you where you want to be when you want to be there, you're not my kind of person. Now, the reason I'm over-explaining that is for you to reflect on potentially what kind of person you want to be. What kind of people are you attracting? Do not blindly follow people that say you need a greased slide. Funny enough, have a greased slide to sell you, right? Of course, the town barber thinks you need a haircut. So it's a little bit different. You got to pay attention. You are going to have to pay attention. You have to follow some clues. If you show up, if you are in the Telegram group and your notifications are on, you won't miss anything. If that's too hard for you, if that's too much work, or, well, if you don't use Telegram because you prefer email, that's okay. It's not worth it to you to take an extra step to get what you want. That tells me a lot about you as a potential partner, client, vendor. You're not willing to take an extra step to get what you want out of life. If that is the case, I do not want you to ever tell anybody that my methodologies are responsible for your outcomes. Make sense? Cool. Hope it makes sense. So here's why you should listen to me. This is a huge slide in all webinar trainings and presentations. You got to tell them why they should listen to you. I don't know that you should listen to me. I really don't. I can tell you who shouldn't listen to me. If you think I'm going to put anything new in you, if you're sitting here looking for, thinking that you're a blank slate, I'm going to shove some new tactic, trick, or perspective into you that you don't already have, this is not the place to be. If you are looking out the window because you refuse to look in the mirror, this is not the place to be. I'm going to hold up a mirror. That's all I'm going to do over the next 12 days. because that is all you need. I promise that is all you need. So should you listen to me? I don't know. I don't. Decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to give you anything new or shiny. Again, in Nicsmas 2019, I taught diffusion of innovation. People were like, whoa, how do you come up with this stuff? It's like you could see around corners. This is so revolutionary. Diffusion of Innovation, the first edition, which is where all modern marketing comes from. Diffusion of Innovation was written in 1962. It's not new. Again, I'm not giving you anything that doesn't already exist. I might point you in the right direction. I might give you a perspective that sends you down a rabbit hole. You got to figure these things out for yourself. Nicsmas 2020, similar. It was nothing new. Okay. So we're going to talk about, and day one's always awkward. I'm not a good start. I'm not good at starting things. I'm not good at finishing things. Much better when I'm a momentum player. We're going to start here just by understanding this and know that the key points of Nicsmas 2020 that I want you to take away are resource allocation. Nicsmas2020.com, it's free. Resource allocation and knowing yourself and what matters to you. I'm going to share 3 things in my life that have stuck with me in a way that have changed the trajectory of everything. Okay? They'll be different for you. These may not hit you like they hit me, but the hope is over the next 12 days, you hear some things that make you realize some things that you knew all along. You just, whatever was said or whatever was shown, unlock that thing. The first is, see this guy? Let me see. This guy's about 6'7", jacked out of his mind, terrifying human being. Also was one of my best friends for a very long time. He's the one that got me into powerlifting. And he said, hey, look, he's one of the best deadlifters of all time. And I reached out and was like, hey, I want to learn from you. And he said, if you could drive to Jacksonville, I deadlift every Saturday. And if you show up, I will help you. I will tell you anything you want to know. Just ask thoughtful questions. Don't be an idiot, yada, yada, yada. It seemed very harsh to me. But I was like, I wanted it bad enough. I drove 3.5 hours every Saturday to go work out and then 3.5 hours home. And when I was in my pursuit of going pro and strongman, he said, yeah, I'll help you. You can go pro, no problem. I'll show up at your next event and I'll walk you through it. And here's what was happening. We're at this event. Everybody's doing what they do, right? You imagine like a football game or even a baseball game where something good happens, everybody jumps up and down, they're running up and down the sidelines, they're cheering. That's happening in all sports. So I'm pacing around. It's hot out. The competition's outside. And he goes, what the fuck are you doing? And he's a very intimidating human being. So what do you mean? He goes, what the fuck are you doing? Do you want to win? Yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. Duh. He goes, then sit the fuck down, find some shade, and drink some water. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not a big deal. He's like, sit the fuck down. Because if this matters to you, you will not waste resources on things that don't matter. That was years ago. That was 11 years ago. And to this day, resource allocation has been the number one thing. Am I wasting energy on something that does not move the needle? So we're going to talk a lot about focusing on what matters. We really have to know what matters in order to figure out how to reallocate our energy. The other 2 things come from Dr. Jeff Spencer. Many of you know Dr. Jeff Spencer. He is one of my dearest friends. But also you can see Richard Branson, Dave Asprey, Tiger Woods, Jim Quick, Chris Voss. I think he's coached 40 Olympic medals and world champions, and he himself is an Olympic medalist. But his wisdom is off the charts. And he called me one time. He called me one day on a Sunday, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. You take this however you want. It's not going to be easy to hear. And most people are not going to understand this. They're going to think it's arrogant. They're going to think it's egotistical, and they will not tell you. But your red kryptonite, and this is after we've spent 3 or 4 hours for a couple years together, 3 or 4 hours every week. He goes, your red kryptonite is spending too much time with people below a certain cognitive capacity. It will absolutely derail you. You can accept that. You don't have to accept that. But I'm telling you that now so that when you recognize it, you can recognize it to be true. It's not a myth. So when it comes from someone like him, I started recognizing he's right. It's a very difficult thing to say to yourself, like, these people don't have the cognitive capacity to justify my time. That sounds like a horrible thing to say. But this is why we have people like Jeff Spencer in our life. And this is why we do things like Nicsmas, is you're going to share things, again, that hopefully you start to recognize as, I kind of had this feeling, but it felt like, I was guilty for having this feeling, or everybody else says it's wrong. A lot of Nicsmas is here to just validate what you already know to be true. It just needs to be validated because 99% of the world is backwards, right? Most people think they are not most people, which means everybody's confused. It's like 80% of the population thinks they're top 1%, which means most of them are wrong, right? So we're following the masses is a dangerous game. The other thing he said, which heavily shaped Nicsmas, is we were on a call and I was talking about doing a presentation. He said, you should not present. Don't present. You're one of the few people in the world that is better off with no preparation, because the way that you answer a question implies that you have a deep understanding and a deep knowledge of various situations. And that leads us back to Nicsmas. Like I said, I'm not a good presenter. I don't have a desire to be a good presenter because it is my belief that anybody can present. There's a story of Max Planck, who was like a world-renowned physicist, used to travel around, do a presentation, and his chauffeur was like, I've seen this so many times, I think I can do this. I really think I can do this presentation better than you can. He said, okay, so do it. So the chauffeur goes up and knocks the presentation out of the park. Amazing, right? And then somebody in the one of the attendees asks a question, a very deep question. And he goes, great question. I'm going to have to defer to my chauffeur. And then Max Planck comes back up, right? The point being, the chauffeur can make a presentation. There's nothing stopping. I can make the most amazing presentation to blow all your minds right now. There's nothing stopping a 13-year-old kid in Indonesia from copying it word for word. It's not the presentation that matters. It's not who can present the best thing that sounds the best. All I care about, and all we're going to talk about, is how do we actually get what we want when reality hits us in the face, right? When the things that we cannot have conceived of yesterday show up today, how do we navigate that? Who can get the job done? And that's why Nicsmas is done this way. Okay. So here's a structure. There's going to be a quote of the day. Every day, quote of the day. I'm going to tell you why it's a quote of the day. I strongly recommend that you go down a rabbit hole if you want to and say, oh, that's a cool quote. Tell me more about this person. I generally only quote people if I'm comfortable with the audience or whoever I'm talking to going down that rabbit hole. 6-word update. 6-word update's very powerful. Most of you will not do it. It's one of those things. It's like journaling where people are like, oh, this is so juvenile. Except for the people that are like, oh, I thought this was advanced. You just want me to journal? When they journal, they end up like calling me like, dude, I journaled and I was crying. Is that normal? Like, yeah, that means you got some shit that you've been avoiding. So most of you won't do this because it seems super juvenile, but this is a 6-word update. It is 6 words. I got this from Randy Massengale, who helped us build the Certainty certification. And he introduced it to our students, and it was really cool. It was incredibly powerful. So I'm going to share with you guys 6-word update. I strongly recommend this for everybody. It is 6 words that tell a story about what's going on in your life. Nicsmas starts today, gonna learn stuff. That's 6 words. What this does is it forces you to take all these things swirling around in your head and get them down into a clear, concise statement. If it can have a beginning, middle, and end, great. 6-word updates are tough. It's really difficult. It's a really powerful thought exercise. So there's going to be a 6-word update. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to do this. Nicsmas Day 1. 6-word update. And I will be paying attention because it's Nicsmas. I got to give away a bunch of stuff. I will be paying attention to the people that actually try. Drop your 6-word update as a comment on that tweet by the end of the day today. Okay. So this would be relevant to anything going on in your life right now. Realizations, revelations, things you heard here, things you heard elsewhere. Start making connections. I want you to start making connections about, this was presented, like I present a lot of things in the domain of crypto. The point is when people in the Wolf Den, which is my crypto group, they go, hey, I know that this, you mentioned this in crypto, but I kind of feel like it's true with my family as well. Like, aha, now you're getting it. That is exactly the point. Recognize underlying concepts and principles that are true in every domain. We present it in one domain, but what's the point if we can't recognize it in others? Okay, there's no email support. There's no Facebook group. There's no messenger group. I don't email at all anymore because it creates a diffusion of responsibility. I'm not a huge fan. If you're in any of my groups, you know. If you if you send an email and you email 5 people and you carbon copy 5 people and you BCC 3 people and you go, hey guys, what time's the meeting today? Here's what's happened. 1, you were not responsible. That's a problem. And then you diffuse that responsibility not to one other person, but to 13 other people. You've now blown up 13 other people because you've abdicated responsibility that you should have to your own. Now, because you say, hey, everyone, what time is the meeting? You are leaving it open for all 13 people that are in that email, hundreds, thousands of people in a group, to respond. Now they have to figure out, should I respond? Maybe Nick will respond. Maybe if I don't respond, somebody else will. Maybe if I respond first, I'll seem the most helpful. You now have 13 people, some of which may not have the answer. They may send you back the wrong time, in which case you can blame them, so you've abdicated responsibility again. You may not get an answer because all 13 of them say, somebody else will answer that. You may get 5 answers, in which case you've wasted everybody's time multiple times. It's a diffusion of responsibility, which means you have to think about things. Be responsible right now. Focus right now. If I say, hey, this is what's going to happen on this day and this time, don't drop into a Facebook group and say, hey guys, what time was that thing again? Yeah, I know it's easy. I know it's very easy for you. And it's very easy for somebody else. And what we have is we end up with thousands of people all doing what's really easy for them, and a whole bunch of responsibility getting abdicated and a whole bunch of responsibility getting diffused, and we wonder why we can't get what we want out of life. If you want a response about a very specific thing, ask a very specific question directly to the source. That's why, 6 words is hard. Agreed. Right, so I get it. And the biggest issue, and this is from Dr. Jeff Spencer as well, and we're going to dive into this stuff. This is a very broad stroke. Day 1 is always like, let's just cram a bunch of stuff in. It's a very, the biggest issue with the service economy, which is where everybody thinks we're going, or everybody thought we were going, is everything should be as easy as possible for the customer. And what happens, right? Amazon, your credit card, you get scammed. You make a bad purchase. You buy something you didn't mean to buy. You didn't read the description, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of stuff. They refund you. They have a whole support team that's there to help you, and it's awesome. It's really great. The problem is people have learned they don't have to pay attention. They can make all kinds of mistakes, and they can go get somebody to fix it. No problem. No responsibility. So there's just way over rotation towards service that has made humans relatively useless, right? Well, who cares if I get scammed and make a mistake? I don't need to do any diligence. My credit card will just refund me. Amazon will always side with me. Yes, that's true. Amazon is great. That's why they make billions and billions of dollars. That is not good for the behavior of the users. Does that make sense? Yes, you can absolutely take over an entire industry if you can win that game. As a consumer or as a user, you have to recognize that that behavior is making you a less effective human across the board. You are diffusing and abdicating responsibility all over the place. Unfortunately, Nicsmas 2020 talks about this in depth. We are often abdicating and diffusing responsibility to people that are not qualified to have that responsibility. Drop into a Facebook group and say, hey guys, can somebody tell me what crypto I should buy? You just opened yourself up to thousands of people that have no fucking clue, but think that they do. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn around and you're going to blame them, but it's not their fault. It is your fault for diffusing responsibility to a whole bunch of people that have not been vetted in any kind of way. Have we judged, or have we done any work to determine their ability to discern what crypto to buy, which coach to hire, which widget to invest in? All right, so we got to realize, on one hand, if we are doing this as a consumer, we are putting ourselves at risk. Okay, if we are doing this as a service provider, we are putting others at risk. Oh, but we're supposed to be nice and serve them. Sure, if that's the kind of client that you want, you can absolutely make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and you're probably gonna have a whole lot of headache. You'll probably get sued a lot. And if you can wash your hands of that and say, nope, we did our job, that's fine. That's not my personality. But more importantly, just be aware of how you are behaving as a consumer and what kind of behavior you are cultivating or facilitating. You don't get to be mad at your clients when you have a greased slide offer with a no-brainer. You have a greased slide marketing with a no-brainer offer and a ton of customer support handholding. You don't get to sit at your dinner table and bitch that all of your clients have no brains and want handholding. That's your fault. You did that. Okay? So this is about extreme responsibility, directions for acting like an adult, or directions for don't act like an asshole. Yep. This is being aware of the complexities of all the decisions we make and understanding what you're doing so that you can get to where you want to be. And the multiple dimensions of receptivity. I just explained it. What I encourage you to do, and the way that I'm going to talk about this, you're going to hear me repeat myself. And if you are a little myopic, you're going to say, well, you said that already. But the more perspicacious of the bunch is going to go, oh, now I get it in this domain, because it's nuanced. So what I encourage you to do is say, okay, what does this mean for me as a consumer of things? What does this mean for me as a seller of things? What does this mean for me as a follower of people? What does this mean for me as a leader of people? How do I teach this to other people? How do I use this to give other people forgiveness where now that I'm aware that they're not capable of thinking at this level, how can I stop being mad at them? Now that I understand that they're not ready to see this, how can I prevent myself from not trying to shove it down their throat? You will be shocked at how much this improves every aspect of your life. Hey, the other multiple dimensions of receptivity here, which I'm going to share, is we have to know what really matters to us. Otherwise, we fall into this trap. Okay. So I'll just read this really quick. Let's say a 35-year-old woman comes in and says, I want abs. I want abs. And this is why I wanted you to read Finite and Infinite Games. Say, cool. You follow these directions and listen to me and you'll get there. So she does it, and I look brilliant. I delivered on the promise. I said, I promise you'll have abs if you give me money. She gives me money. Now she has abs, and the plan, quote unquote, worked. Another successful venture. Woohoo, look at all of our brilliance. Everything I do works. But are we considering the high probability that her 8-year-old daughter has observed this extreme dieting, this extreme behavior, and obsession over body image and the scale, and will now have disordered eating patterns for the rest of her life? So did it really work in terms of what matters? If we don't know what actually matters to us, we're going to do a whole bunch of shit that works. Oh, but this ad campaign worked, but this diet worked, but this works, and this works, and this works, and we're learning all the wrong lessons because the consequences of what we are doing is showing up somewhere else in space and time. Now we're trying to sue, our daughter's high school because she's got disordered eating patterns and we're blaming her friends, her peers, and her curriculum, not recognizing that it was our behavior right here. We did not follow directions for not acting like an asshole. Don't act like an asshole. And we were completely oblivious to the second, the third, and the subsequent order dynamic consequences. So the point is, oftentimes you get fooled into believing that, well, this works, so I'm going to keep doing this, and this works, so I'm going to keep doing this. And then other areas of your life fall apart, and you can't figure out, how the hell am I so successful at everything I do, and I don't have anything that I want? Right? These are just the layers of thinking that you're going to have to at least be open to. You can tell me I'm wrong. I might be wrong. But at least be open to these layers of thinking if you're going to continue to watch Nicsmas. Or it just won't be super useful to you. All right, quote of the day. Hopefully that all makes sense. It will. Give it a few days. It'll all come together, I promise. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is the quote of the day. This is the most important quote to me that I have ever seen. Most prefer, that's what I'll say, the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. Most prefer the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. That means if I say behind door 1, there's a 100% chance you are going to be miserable forever. Behind door 2, there is a 2% chance you find happiness. Almost every single human being on the planet will still pick door 1. Think about that. This is how we think we're being logical. Why would we not take door 2? Some chance of happiness is greater than no chance of happiness, right? However, you ever been in the relationship that you knew was never going to get better for way too long? You ever been in a partnership you knew was not going to get better for way too long? You ever seen it happen to a friend? It's the devil we know, right? So we have to recognize that a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about are going to make you very uncertain about some of your beliefs, some of the things you've been sold. Marketers have worked really hard to get you to develop a set of beliefs. And the biggest risk is that we introduce something that makes you uncertain. It makes you question some of the things that you were so sure about that you immediately go, nope, shut it down, and you become just like the 99%. I don't think anybody is here to continue to be like the 99%, right? Maybe you are. Maybe you're just curious. Maybe you're bored. I'm not super entertaining, so if you're bored, you should probably go somewhere else. But we have to recognize when they go, well, I've always done it this way. Say, okay. Well, if you've been trying, I don't know, this thing this way, and it hasn't been working, and I'm introducing something new and it's really uncomfortable for you and you don't want to do it, that's okay. But you have to admit out loud, you have to recognize and admit out loud that you are choosing the certainty of misery. You'd rather be miserable with the devil you know than have a chance of something better with what you don't. No judgment on my part. I am not here to judge you. This is don't be an ass, or directions for acting like an adult, or don't act like an asshole. Which means you don't say, okay, I understand that I am choosing to be miserable. Now let me go complain to others about it. You forfeit the right to complain if you can be honest with yourself and recognize when you are choosing the certainty of misery. And sometimes it's okay to do that. You just have to be aware of it. So you do not put that burden on other people. You do not get to put the burden of your choices on other people. Don't act like an asshole. DALA. Okay? So we got to recognize this. You got to recognize, because what's going to happen is I'm going to open some loops. So Allegiance Capital is where I tell you what's going to happen ahead of time so that you can recognize it immediately when it does. That makes it, if I can say, hey, look, you're probably going to feel this way, and this is what you should do about it, you can quickly recognize when you feel that way. and then you can quickly discern whether or not you want to listen to me or not, but at least you've recognized it, you've become aware of it. So allegiance capital is the process or the concept of telling people what's coming internally for them, especially before it hits them. Because if you go, hey, yeah, I felt this way, and then I cried, and I say, yeah, well, I knew that was going to happen, it kind of sounds like bullshit, right? After the fact, it's really easy to go, oh, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So what we do as responsible adults is we call it out ahead of time. We say, hey, you may see this. I'm telling you right now, there's a high likelihood you're going to feel this way, and this is what I recommend you do about it. So we're not in a position of explaining away things. It's allegiance capital. Say, hey, this is likely to happen. And the thing that I'm telling you is going to happen is I'm going to open some loops. I'm going to take a belief that you have, almost without a doubt, take a belief that you have and gently as possible rip it out of you. And that's going to create a vacuum. And you know what? You know what we now know? We know that most prefer the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. A vacuum, a hole where a belief used to be. You used to have so much certainty about, it could be a religion, it could be a political party, it could be a marketing strategy, it could be a stance on whatever. And my goal is to shake that certainty. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fill that new void as quickly as possible with anything that might fit. Because a huge void is the most uncertain of all. The risk you run is I open a loop, and as soon as we get off here, you can't handle the anxiety of having a big hole in your belief system. So you go call friends, you ask questions, you go to Google, and you quickly search for something to fill that gap. That is acting like an asshole, right? Or not acting like an adult, depending on which version of the acronym you want to use. Because more than likely, that urgency to fill the hole, I just want certainty. Even if it makes me miserable, I just want certainty in the short term. There's no guarantee that the thing that you replace that old belief with is going to serve you better, right? We want to leave the loop open. This is what marketers do. Okay, let me tell you how people get you to buy shit you don't want or need. Let me tell you how people get you to believe you're not good enough and you don't have enough so that you give them money. They open a loop and then they close it. And what they close it with is the thing they're selling you. They introduce anxiety. Oh no, I never thought of it that way. I'm doing it all wrong. Then they provide you a solution. That's how you get duped. So when you have an open loop and you go immediately, you go try to Google it, you try to find the answers, you go straight to the book, or you call your friends or your mentors, or you drop in a fucking Facebook group and say, hey guys, I just realized this. What's the solution? You are duping yourself. Allow that loop to be open. Try new things on. Sleep on it. Figure out what actually belongs there. Weighed against what you want. I can't tell you what belongs there because I don't know what you want. I don't know what your priorities are. So I'm telling you right now, we're going to have conversations over the next 12 days, and we're going to get off here, and you're going to have a low-grade anxiety to go, oh my God, I need answers. And you're going to go Google it, and I'm telling you right now, you are duping yourself. Whoever has the best SEO rankings is going to fill that space for you. That has nothing to do with you getting closer to what you want. Does that make sense? You see how we kind of keep working so hard to find solutions and sometimes feel like maybe we're getting further away or running in circles? So there's going to be open loops, and there's not going to be a grease slide. It's going to be kind of like a sandpaper slide here. Because the other way that you get duped is you get stuck on a grease slide. So as long as we get them in, we'll get them all the way to where we want them to be. There's a big difference between me getting you to where I want you to be to solve my problems, right? Than for you getting to where you want to be to solve your problems. Nobody else can build a grease slide for you. from where you're at to where you want to be, because it's personal to you. So that's what's coming. Okay? I'm going to open some loops. I strongly encourage you. I'm not going to micromanage. Do whatever you want. I strongly encourage you to just let them stay open. We will close them over time together. I will present new options and opportunities and ways to think about things that might fill that space better than what was there before. And we're going to talk about engineering luck. I'll give you a little bit of a preview. If you're playing this game of life and you have an outcome and you want to win, it makes a whole lot of sense to have the best players on your team. And now humans are inherently unreliable. So I'm not necessarily talking about like the rhetoric of, get the best employees and staff. The rest takes care of itself. I'm talking about two things that have proven to be undefeated. Time. Time has never not passed. I'm not saying that it couldn't stop passing, although if that happened, nothing would matter to any of us, right? I'm not saying that I can predict the future. I'm saying that time has never not passed, and it has never done anything other than what it has done consistently. Okay? Time is undefeated. Time is undefeated. Randomness, the unexpected, has never not shown up. We don't know where, but we know for a fact COVID, there's elections, there's crypto, people weren't prepared for that. Facebook is changing everything, like the internet. Here's what we know for certain. Time is undefeated. Randomness, the unexpected, is undefeated. As we move forward to the things that matter to us, it makes a whole lot of sense for me to not be in direct opposition with two undefeated players. Why would I say for me to reach my goals, I have to beat time and I have to beat randomness? Everything has to go exactly as I plan. There can be nothing unexpected, and we gotta rush because we're in a hurry. That is the fastest way to make sure you lose. You are rigging the game against yourself. So we're going to talk a lot about all these concepts, and the underpinning is we need time on our side. We have to build things. If we're serious about getting the life that we want, we have to put time on our side. And we have to put randomness, we have to put the unexpected on our side. We need to be in a position where something unexpected happening is a bigger benefit to us than potential other competition, right? So Jeff Spencer talks about this in the Olympic prep. The worst thing you can do as an Olympic athlete, because you only get one shot every 4 years, is build a plan where everything has to go right. You got to show up at 9 a.m. and you got to stretch at 9:15 and you got to drink water at 9:20. If your whole plan depends on everything going right, you are going to lose, because there has not been a world up to this point where everything went exactly right as expected. Right? So that's an example of randomness playing against you. Jeff's athletes, 40 plus Olympic medalists, they know how to adjust to the circuit. They might show up late. That's okay. We know what to do. Right? Oh, we're supposed to drink water and there's no water here, so we're just going to do this instead. Right? This means that in an Olympic setting or any high-level setting, you got 10 athletes. 9 of them needed everything to go perfectly. 1 of them was prepared for the unexpected. Who has the advantage? Knowing that the unexpected is inevitable. The one athlete that did not need everything to go right in order to win. Business, life, family, it's all the same. The more things you need to go right, the worse off you are. The better it looks on paper, for sure. You certainly look prepared. We're not worried about looking prepared. We're worried about getting what we want. Right? It's a huge orientation toward getting what we want. So we're talking a lot about how to engineer luck, and I'll try to drive home some examples. And a little bit about fishies and ponds. This is going to be the one that none of you want to hear. Some of you might be ready. Some of you might just drop off right at the end of this slide or in the middle of this slide. We have to recognize where we really want to be. And we got to be honest with ourselves. We got to be honest with ourselves, because in this world, I see it in internet marketing, I see it in crypto, I see it everywhere. A lot of people are saying, I want to be the best in the world. And then you watch their behavior, and they actually just want a very small segment of the population to believe that. They want to be the big fish in a small pond. They are aware sometimes that bigger ponds exist, sometimes they're not. But it's very, very important to remember. This is the thing that I see the most dissonance with the people that we've been working with lately, is they're like, you don't understand, we're doing something the world's never done. And like, that's not true. If you just jump into a bigger pond, you'll actually see that everybody's doing this. You know, like every Fortune 500 company in the world does this. And like these entrepreneurs are like, we're doing something revolutionary. It's never been done in the history of mankind. Like, no, every Fortune 500 has been doing that for like 100 years. So there's this delusion, which is really, really important, because that means there's a dissonance between what you say you want and your behavior. And that dissonance will grow the louder you get about what you say you want, and the more your behavior stays the same. So we got to be honest about our macro beliefs. What do we really care about? What do we really care about? We can go back to this example right here. Everything we talk about needs to be weighed against your macro beliefs. If you believe the most important thing to me is to raise happy and healthy kids, then you think I should do a fitness bikini competition when I'm, I think it'd be pretty cool to be a 40-year-old woman to knock that out of the park. Well, if the most important thing to you really is healthy, happy kids and have a good relationship with themselves, then maybe that's not. In another scenario, it might be something really cool that is aligned with your macro beliefs. We have to know what we want. I have no problem if somebody says to me, I don't want to be the best in the world. I just need a small segment of the population to believe that I am. I don't actually want to play in those big ponds. I don't want to go in the ocean. It's huge. It's scary. I don't think I'll be successful. But I could be the king of this little pond. If we can espouse that as our macro belief, we can then make decisions that align our behavior with what we really want. No judgment if you want to be the biggest fish in a small pond. A lot of judgment from me if you are saying, I want to be the biggest fish in the biggest pond, and your behavior is you just swimming around the tiny pond trying to convince everybody you're the king of the world. Right, so there's like a macro belief. We have to understand what is the most important to us, because everything's weighed against that. Everything's weighed against that. Somebody says, should I, I'll give you a really quick example. I need to get 10 hours back. Somebody says I need to get 10 hours back. And therefore I need to make a lot more money to pay somebody to replace 10 hours of time, right? It's a business owner. And say, okay, well, humans orient toward more. We always think we need more of everything. What would it cost to get an office 45 minutes closer to your home? It saves you an hour and a half a day, 5 days a week, right? $2,500 a month. So $2,500 a month to get all that time back by just working closer to home. $15,000 a month to get an employee to cover all the stuff that you do, or 2 employees maybe. Right, the most efficient path forward is get an office closer. Like, you could do that tomorrow and you've solved your problem. The issue is, until our conversation, this particular individual was not clear on the macro beliefs. It took a lot of digging. What they believed is they needed more money in order to get some time back. Right, and they focused on the more money. They weren't focused on the macro belief. They were focused on the vehicle. They were focused on the tool. So we really have to know every time we go, should I hire a babysitter or should I hire an executive admin? Because I can't take care of my kids and do the admin work. Which one's a better decision? Well, where's your macro belief lie? Right? You want to spend more time with your kid or not? No judgment, but that's how you make that decision. You have to know what your macro beliefs and priorities are. A lot of people move in direct opposition to the macro beliefs. So they do things like, yeah, well, it's really important for me to spend more time with my kids. That's my number one priority. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work overtime for the next 3 years so that I can retire and spend more time with my kids. So your macro belief is, I want to spend more time with my kids, and your solution is to spend less time with your kids. Right? We do this all the time, and we wonder why can't we ever get what we want? Front and center, everything is weighed against macro beliefs. What do I actually want? We'll talk more, Nicsmas, about the timeline, all that stuff. In the certainty methodology, we call it the profit priorities. And the last thing we're going to talk about over the next 12 days is the 3 C's. Okay? 3 C's. And again, this is high level, broad stroke. Everybody is moving faster. You ever feel like you got to move faster? You wake up with the low grade anxiety and like you just got to do something. I know a lot of people are like, oh shit, I woke up 15 minutes late, and then they rush and they put their clothes on, and they got socks that don't match, and they get to the office because they're in such a hurry, and then they sit around for an hour trying to figure out where to start. Right, a lot of that. And that's in all areas of life. Like, I got to hurry up and get to the gym, and then get to the gym, and you're like, I don't really know what to do here. You're in a hurry to do nothing all the time. And that's because we do everything backwards, because we're humans, and that's what we're good at, is we're trying to collapse time. That's the 3rd C. Okay, we'll have a whole thing on this. We're trying to collapse time. We're trying to rush faster, but you cannot get from point A to point B faster until you have directions from point A to point B. So before collapsing time, we need to have certainty on the path. That's the 2nd C. Okay? We cannot have certainty on the path until we have clarity. So Google Maps is a certainty piece. Right? Here's your directions. When you're following Google Maps, that's certainty. You know what it needs to do before it can give you certainty? It has to get clarity. That's the 1st C. You have to know where you are at and where you want to be. Now, here is the thing I want you to consider. Just leave the loop open, okay? If your Google Maps, if you're sitting in some strange place in downtown Seattle, and you don't know which street is which because it's kind of foreign to you, and you enter your destination, how do I get to my hotel? And Google Maps starts you like 2 blocks away from where you're at. It's very, very minor relative to the grand scheme, right? 2 blocks. So Google Maps starts you a little bit off. You're like, what the fuck? How do I get there? Like, those directions are tough because you got to get to the starting point, and you're not always sure how to get from where you're at to where point A is, right? Fortunately, Google Maps is pretty good, and it usually pinpoints where you're at. But we know if our technology is a block or 2 off in one direction, and the starting point, and a block or 2 off in one direction, and the ending point, it can cause us a lot of anxiety. It's very confusing, right? That's what we do in our life, but way worse. We're like, okay, where are you starting? Well, I got like probably 7 figures in the bank. That's like starting like 8 miles from your starting position. Lack of specificity, right? So the clarity phase is like, we got to be really fucking honest about who we are, what we value, where we're actually at. A lot of people think they're using a Google Maps, the equivalent of Google Maps, right? Like, oh, okay. I'm following this and not realizing that your starting position, because you won't be honest about yourself, about where you're at, nor will you be really honest about what you want. You'll say the things you think you're supposed to want, but you won't be honest about what you want. If our Google Maps showed us something that was this far off with this little specificity, we would be pissed. We'd be like, fuck this thing. It's broken. This is bullshit. This will never work. I can't use this. So how come in your life, right, you sure shit wouldn't go, all right, well, this map's way off, but I feel good about it, and I'm going to drive extra fast because I'm in a rush. No, the very reason you won't drive fast is because you don't have the certainty, because you know the clarity piece was a little bit off. But that's what you're doing in your life. You're rushing around with a half-baked certainty piece, half-baked set of directions that is half-baked because you can't be honest or concise about where you're starting and where you want to be. I hope that makes sense. So, what we really need to focus on in our personal lives, in our business, and when we're coaching others, we're really big on this in the certification. We teach people how to do this for themselves and for other people so that we can refer business to them, because I don't really want any more clients. First, we must have clarity. Where are you at and where do you want to be? Without that, nothing else matters. People will tell you, hey, I can get you there faster. And your first question will be like, fucking where? Where are you getting me faster? They're like, how'd you get the directions? How'd you pinpoint my location? Oh, you didn't. That's right. So without that piece, nothing else matters. I don't care about your Stripe screenshots. I don't care about your Lamborghinis. I don't care about all the things you show the internet. I really don't. Without the clarity piece, nothing else matters. Where are you at and where do you want to be? Only then can Google Maps discern the most efficient path forward. Right? So Nicsmas homework is one, I want to see a 6-word update. I am paying attention. You do not have to, you don't have to participate. There's no punishment. Congratulations. What really matters to you? All right, we'll talk about where you're at later, but when it really comes down to it, if you say $10 million, you don't get it. If I said, cool, your wife is going to leave you and your children are going to hate you, and I'll give you $10 million, sign the agreement. Would you sign it? If not, then you're missing a lot, right? There is a, and I'll talk about this probably tomorrow. There's a dissertation written by a Stanford student in 1990. It's called The Rocky Road from Action to Intention. And if nothing else, think about this. The landmark study was she got friends, family, spouses, strangers, everybody together, paired them up and said, one of you is going to tap your favorite song on a desk. Okay? The other one's going to try to guess what the song is. So they did this experiment. Beforehand, they said, what do you think the probability they'll be able to guess the song is? They said, 60 or 70%. All right. Then they did the tapping, right? Tapped happy birthday or whatever. Afterwards, she asked them, now that you've done it and you saw their response, what do you think the probability is that they can guess what the song is? And it came in an average about 50 to 60%. I think there's a 50 to 60% chance that they could discern what the song was. Now, the answer is the other party was able to guess the song 1.5% of the time. 1.5. Let me explain all the layers of realizations that I hope you came to yourself. 1, we are really bad at estimating how we communicate things to other people. 2, even after it was communicated, we are still really bad at estimating how it has been received. 3, we are very poor communicators. We're poor communicators, that's 1. But the fact that we so grossly underestimate or overestimate our ability to communicate is the scariest part. How many times do you think you've made yourself clear? Here's what happens. And let me see if I can change this. I probably got bad head, and that's just my style. Everybody knows that. Here's what happens. We're tapping on the table. Okay? Happy birthday. Whatever. Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift. We have accompaniments in our head that the other person does not have, and we assume that they do. So when you say to yourself, yeah, I want $10 million, you have accompaniments in your head. Obviously, you mean you want to be home by 5 p.m. and spend time with your kids, and obviously, you would not give up your family, and obviously, you don't want to do anything illegal. Those aren't obvious. Those are accompaniments in your head. And sometimes you're not even aware that they're there. So to say, yeah, I want to make $10 million, like, cool. I don't know, sell your children. Oh, that's not an option. Well, then there's obviously more that you want, right? That $10 million represents something to you, which is like the freedom to spend time with my family and go take them to Disney and yada, yada, yada. So it's really important that we get clear on what we want and we don't discount the accompaniments in our head thinking that we are communicating with ourselves or others effectively, because we're not. That's what the 6-word update, right? The homework. Sit down, say what really matters. Like, worst case scenario, what life would I be okay with? And the lazy brain is going to go, ooh, if I had $10 million. I don't give a shit about $10 million. What would you do with it? I'd be up at, well, I would sleep in on the weekends, and I'd be home for dinner every night as long as my kids are in school. I wouldn't be stressed out about this. My wife wouldn't have to work anymore. Like, what does that look like? Because there are infinite ways to make $10 million, but there's very few. There's very few ways to get what you want. And if you can define that, we can then discern, right? Google Maps, instead of having infinity ways, like most people are basically saying, well, I'm a little bit south of where I want to be, and I'd like to be a little bit north of where I am. What the fuck is Google Maps going to do with that? But that's what you're doing. You're going, why can nobody help me? I pay so much money. I work so hard. I'm just trying to go a little bit north from where I'm at. Cool. Then go north. Yeah, but like also, so there's other things that you want that you haven't made explicit. No wonder nobody can fucking help you. Right? So we have to remove this ambiguity from our own thought process and learn to articulate it to others. Only a few. You don't need, the world doesn't need to know. But the Google Maps, your coach, your consultant, your spouse, your mentor, the 1 or 2 people in your life that really matter, we have to develop the skill of getting clear with ourselves so we can articulate it to them. Otherwise, we will never get what we really want. You will go, I want $10 million, and you'll make $10 million. And you'll be like, oh, is this it? Why am I not happy? Now I want something. And you're just going to chase shit around willy-nilly and wonder why everything works, but you're so unhappy and you have no control over your life. Even though you do everything right. You reach all your goals, right? So what really matters to you? Write it down. You don't need to show me. I don't care. Not that I don't care what matters to you, but that's not the point. The point is, get it clear for yourself. Get it clear for yourself. You think I should, take this job? What really matters to you? I want to make $10 million and it's a $10 million job. Like, okay, but what really matters to you? Why do you want $10 million? Well, because I think then, I'd be able to spend more time with my wife and kids. All right, well, does taking this job allow you to spend more time with your wife and kids? No, I wouldn't see them I'd have to travel a lot. I'm like, well, then no, don't take the job, because it's not about the $10 million, is it? These are very, very easy things, but we get in our own way because we don't know what really matters to us. And the Human vs. Champion Mind, I'm going to put it in the Telegram group. I have replays from the Dallas event. I strongly recommend everybody watch Dr. Jeff Spencer talk about the Human vs. Champion Mind. It is one of the most powerful things that you will need moving forward in Nicsmas. A reminder, Twitter, Telegram, you should have them both already. The only way you would find this video is if you were in the Telegram. So we'll carry on with this tomorrow. It's not all going to be like this. Typically, I'll probably do more open conversation. I am best. I am in my best. I show up best, and I'm having the most fun when I'm just having dialogue and answering questions. I just need to lay this foundation. Let some of you disqualify yourselves. Say, this guy, I thought he was going to give me answers. I'm not going to give you answers. You have to find the answers for yourself. I'm going to do my best to show you the things that reveal the answers for you. That is my only hope here. Okay? So I just did a quick day one. Day one's always the weird day. I want to give you a chance to disqualify yourself, bow out gracefully, no hard feelings, totally get it. And hit the Twitter, I want to see 6-word updates. I will post the Human vs. Champion Mind. It's about an hour and a half. It's worth every minute. Dr. Jeff Spencer is amazing. And then we're going to get into a lot of the certainty certification methodology and a lot of the things surrounding it, because It's the thing that is the most likely to give the frameworks and the tools to move you forward in the most efficient way possible. And many of you will opt out because you don't want to be honest with where you're at and where you want to be. And that's okay. You can come back, go watch Nicsmas 2020 when you're ready. Nicsmas 2021 probably will not be available because that's just how I'm doing it. Man, I love your content. Appreciate it. I'll read some comments here. I like the dialogue. 6 words is hard. It is. New to this community, the tone with which you are leading, this feels so different than what I've encountered in the crypto community. Here's my opinion. The crypto community that you've experienced, because Ethereum, like go to real projects. They don't act all ridiculous. Most of these projects need you to solve their own problems. To be transparent, I don't. Right? They're like, oh, shill, you need to buy this, And really what they're saying is, oh shit, I need money. So the big difference, in my opinion, between marketers that are leaders and all other marketers is marketers show up to solve their own problem. They go, oh shit, we need money. What can we do? And then they come up with things to say to you. The other side of it, that's the stance I typically take, is like, whoa, I can show people this, it'll be helpful. So I show up to help you. Most marketers are showing up to help themselves. Most small cap crypto people are not crypto people. They don't know anything about blockchain. They're marketers. They're just following the hype. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good, Joey. Here's a 6-word update. Choose what matters over what works. Do me a favor. Drop that on my tweet. I like that one. All right. Choose what matter over what works. This is proof, and Joey's the man. This is proof. The 6-word update is proof that you can take a concept and get it down to 6 words related to your own life. You will develop more understanding, in my opinion, coming up with a 6-word update than writing a 500-word essay where you got to find words to fill pages. Choose what matter over what works. P.S. Why you've been quiet for so long. If you think I've been quiet for so long, I don't know what you're talking about. I've been showing up for like 10 years, almost every day. All communities have a huge percentage of players that show up to solve their own problems. Yeah, here's the thing. If you're trying to solve your own problem, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, if you're showing up to solve your own problem, you are not the coach, consultant, you're not the vendor. You're the consumer. And that's okay. Like that, just be honest with yourself. Like, don't show up and say, I am the leader here. You should all give me money to solve your own problems. If you're looking to solve your own problems, you're looking to find somebody else. You're looking at this point to find another leader for yourself. So like, there's just a weird position thing. Like, I am aware. I'm fully aware when I am asking for something from somebody else. And when I am doing that, I don't pretend, hey, they should pay me money. Most coaches, they I don't know if it's an ego thing, that they can't quite, I don't know if it's a positioning thing, but they panic, and they think the solution to their panic is people should pay me money. What kind of, and no offense, because we all probably do this at some level, what kind of egotistical maniac wakes up and goes, oh my gosh, I need money, I need to solve problems, people should give me money just for existing? Like, that doesn't make sense to me personally. So if I wake up, I need help, I look to go find help, and I look to pay. And if I can't afford it for some reason in money, there's other currencies. I can pay with time, I can pay with identity, I can pay with energy, I can pay with reputation, I can barter, but never in my wildest dreams do I think I should wake up and solve my own problems. Never in my wildest dreams do I think you guys should all give me money to solve my problems. There can be an overlap between helping others and solving problems of yours, though. Yes, of course. Of course. That's very different than demanding people give you money because you have your own problems to solve and pretending like and putting it under the guise of you solving their problems. This whole thing, like, you'll recognize as I respond, as you come up with questions and I respond to them, you're going to recognize it's all about self-awareness. I'm not taking a position. The only position I'm taking is be aware of what you're doing. So panicking because you need to solve your own problems and then going out telling other people that they should give you money so you can solve their problems, that's a lack of awareness, or you're just lying. You're not going out collecting money to solve their problems. You're doing it to solve your own problem. So there's just awareness. I have zero. If somebody goes, yes, I know that I'm shooting myself in the foot, I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm not going to complain about it. I'm like, cool. Can I watch? That sounds entertaining. No problem. I personally, I take no position. I have no problem with anybody taking responsibility for what they do. And once they are aware of it and they espouse that they are aware of it, I have no issues at all if they're not going to complain. What I have issues with is doing something you know is stupid, getting a bad outcome, and then wasting everybody else's time complaining about it. That's it. Just self-awareness. Like, do you understand what you're doing? Yes. Do you understand the consequences? Yes. Do you understand that you forfeit the right to complain because you just made it clear that you understand? Yes. Cool. Have fun. That's it. I do a lot of really dumb shit. I do so much dumb shit all the time. I'm not saying I know how to act like in the moment. I never, ever, ever, as much as possible, put the burden of that dumb shit on somebody else. Me doing dumb shit does not mean I should charge more because I have more ground to make up, right? How helpful were my sales calls? Collect money to solve other people's problems. Simplicity. I don't collect money to solve people's problems. That's another. I talked about it in Nicsmas 2021. Yep. The biggest problem is that people think that money makes everything go away. That is more, and we'll talk about that. More is not the answer. Closer to what I want is the answer. But people refuse to define where they're at or where they want. Because if I actually am honest about where I'm at and where I want to be, I can't hide behind my Stripe screenshots anymore. So as long as I just avoid being honest with myself about where I'm at and what I really want out of life, then I can still hide behind Stripe screenshots. I can still hide behind Lamborghinis. I can still hide behind all this crap. Right? Most people are hiding, and they're fighting. They're fighting like hell to maintain the ability to hide behind things and convince themselves it's okay. And you know what? That's all right. That's 99% of the population is always going to do that. And we are here for the other percent. I do not charge to solve people's problems, by the way. I don't know what side that was taking. I don't charge. I do whatever I want. And it took time to get into this position. But now it's just a value thing, right? Like I'm showing up for Nicsmas because I want to. $0. You guys pay $0. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't. And if there was something I was trying to fund and I was going to do Nicsmas, it would have been outrageously expensive. Not because I'm telling you it's that valuable. Like some people still say to me, hey, can I just get on your calendar for a week, every day or every week for a month, or can you do my fitness stuff? People still ask me for fitness stuff. I was like, yeah, sure. It's $20,000 a month. And they're like, whoa, I mean, I'm sure you're good, but like $20,000 for this it's like, I'm not telling you it's worth it. I'm telling you for me to do something other than what I feel like doing, that's what it would have to cost, right? So you see, when you know who you are and you know what you want and you know what matters to you, you don't run into all these what should I charge for this? What is it worth? Will people pay for this? What do any of those questions have to do with you getting what you want out of life? Told you I'm going to open some loops. But will people pay for this? How can I make it so people will buy this? You are going out trying to collect money from people to solve your problems, but you're not actually getting closer to what you want. It's very few people are going to fully let this sink in. I do whatever I want. There's obviously some things you have to do, obligations and stuff to make it happen, and then invite other people to come along And inevitably, when you invite other people to come along, they try to slow you down. Not intentionally, but you're going to get slowed down because you have to explain things, right? You have to teach things. I'm a much better doer than a teacher, so I'm going to make way more money doing stuff than teaching stuff. So if you want to look over the shoulder and you want me to teach you, it's going to slow me down. So there's a cost to that. I'm not telling you. The feedback, I hope, is like, wow, this is the most valuable thing ever. I hope everybody says that. But I am not trying to tell you that the value is there. I am not trying to tell you you're going to get an outcome. I'm not telling you you're going to get a 10x return. None of that. I am saying in order for me to allow you to watch, in order for me to justify the time or the context switching, it would be X amount of dollars. So only the people that know how to discern value, extract value themselves, pay me. I don't work with people that don't know how to extract value themselves, because I don't spend a lot of time trying to explain the value. Right? I do things like this. I'm live almost every day on my other channel, and I just show people things that I see. Very small percentage of them go, wow, if I just had proximity to this person or this group or this stuff every day, I would make hundreds of millions of dollars more. I'd be so much happier. And those people pay because they have the ability to extract what the value will be. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a little abstract, but I don't sit here and go, what is this worth to somebody else? Because who the hell am I to tell you what something should be worth to you? That's a whole nother weird thing that I have a hard time. This is worth $10,000. My coaching program's worth $10,000. Who the hell am I to tell you what a coach program is? I'm just telling you it's going to cost this much. I have to charge this much to justify letting you in, using these resources and having space in my brain. Whether or not the value's there depends on your ability to extract it. Ask good questions. Show up on time. The fuck does that have to do with me? So Nicsmas. Nicsmas is basically the anti-coaches and consultants. It's a thing that coaches, consultants, people around the world do not want me to share. Do not want me to share because I want you to have power over the outcome. They don't. If you have power over the outcome, it's not true, but it makes them feel as if they have a harder time justifying their existence in your life. If you have power over your eating habits and exercise habits, then you don't have to pay me to tell you what to do. Oh no, Nick, stop giving people power, right? But that's where I'm at. That's my personality. And if that's not you, that's great. I can tell you right now, the number one thing is people go, but how do you make money if you're not guilting and shaming and pressuring people and pathologizing them and coming up with packages and writing copy and making compelling pitches? How do you make money? And I will share. This is Jeff Moore. He says right here, to refer to what you are doing as content is a big time understatement, but if you're to call it what it is to the participants of Nicsmas 2020, your description would make it sound arrogant and egotistical. Leave that to the people that you have served, saved, and guided. Which is another reason why I didn't have the whole why you should listen to me. Here's proof. The reality is, if you are willing to play your game and know yourself, do not be Nick. Nobody here should try to be like me, because you're not. Be you. The amount of capital, the size of the impact, the things that get accomplished, the partnerships formed, the reputation, is so astronomical that you can't even talk about it without being hyperbolic. That has been my experience. It has been validated. Talk to Dr. Jeff Spencer and Jeff Moore and a lot of successful people about it. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they all have similar stories. So it's going to be hard for you to believe, but when you no longer give a shit about convincing anybody of the value that you bring to them, the outcome is so significant, it's not even believable anymore. I don't tell anybody what we make. I don't tell anybody about results. I don't share testimonials anymore because, as Jeff knows, I spent a lot of time with Jeff. This is Jeff Moore. I spent a lot of time with Dr. Jeff. I spent a lot of time with Dan Nicholson. And we had the conversation all the time is like, we can't even share what we're doing anymore because it's borderline unbelievable. It sounds hyperbolic. And then we just sound like marketers making shit up again. So the question, right? Well, if I'm not handling objections on sales calls, how am I going to make money? Like, what? You think Jeff Bezos is on high ticket sales calls handling objections? Like, the evidence is all around us. You have chosen to stay in a small pond and listen to the people that are big fish, and they want you to stay small in that pond. The evidence is everywhere. Everywhere. Pull up a list of the top 20 most wealthy people on the planet and show me which ones running Facebook ads to a high-ticket phone call. None of them. So if that is your belief, that is the only way to make money, show like how many of them are trying to justify their value. It's inherent. Like, Amazon said free 2-day shipping, and we said, holy shit, we want that. You have to spend a whole bunch of time telling us why it was a good idea. Right? A lot of first principles thinking and articulated very well. Thank you. So most of my videos, I just go through tabs like this and I just ramble. And that's probably what Nicsmas will be. It'll have a structure, and I'm going to systematically open these loops. Every loop that I opened, I have a very strong concept to help you close it. So just know that's coming. Don't close that loop yourself. Leave room. Nothing better than what you have can land if you don't give it space to land. You're so busy filling up the space, you're not allowing something better that you could not conceive of today. Something better is going to fly by tomorrow, and if it doesn't have a place to land, it's going to fly right on by you. And that's what everybody's doing. Like, stop filling space, stop rushing, stop believing anybody that makes you feel good, so that you can live in your certainty of misery, right? Learn how to deal with a little bit of uncertainty. Uncertainty is good. It means receptiveness. Uncertainty does not have to mean fear. It can mean receptiveness. Cool. Appreciate you guys. I went longer than I thought. Tomorrow we'll probably do about the same time. It will change. I'm going to send you some stuff. We're not going to do every day the same. We're going to do every day kind of based on the ebbs and the flows and the feedback and frankly, whatever kind of mood I'm in, because I just want to show up the best I can show up for you guys. And I'm typically at my best when I'm responding to questions and rambling and just kind of helping people navigate through stuff with different perspectives. 6-word updates. Hit them on the tweet machine. I am paying attention. It's Nicsmas. I have a lot of cool stuff to give away, but I'm not going to just start giving shit away, because just like I don't want people with no brains or people that want things easy, I don't want people showing up just because they want free shit. It's also not my kind of people. So people get rewarded for taking action and modifying their behavior in a way that might benefit them later on. Cool. Appreciate y'all.